All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. Like I mentioned before, my name is Keith Sherburne. I'm a meteorologist here at the National Weather Service in Rapid City. We will be recording this webinar, so if you need to revisit it after the fact, it will be available to you. If you have any questions as we go along, feel free to drop those in the chat. We'll also have a period for Q&A at the end if you'd like to just unmute and chat with us directly. So getting started here, a large winter storm does remain on track to impact the area beginning Monday. New this afternoon is the winter storm watch you see here on the right, which was issued for much of the area beginning Monday evening and continuing through late Wednesday night. So we're likely going to see multiple days of heavy snow, strong winds across the region. Some locations could also experience periods of freezing drizzle and rain. Freezing drizzle is going to be possible across west central South Dakota before the snow begins, and then the best potential for ice accumulation with freezing rain will be over south central South Dakota. So the combination of the snow, the wind, the ice is going to bring difficult to near impossible travel conditions by late Monday or early Tuesday across much of this area, continuing for at least a couple days thereafter. And as you see here annotated on the winter storm watch, blizzard conditions will also be possible over the west central South Dakota plains. Now, some areas, particularly those on the southwestern side of the hills, so you see we don't have a winter storm watch right now for southern Campbell and portions of western county here. They'll likely see less snow and limited travel impacts out there due to expected downslope winds in that area. So let's just start with the potential for heavy snowfall amounts. At the moment, 6 inches of snow appears probable to likely for much of western and central South Dakota, along with portions of northeastern Wyoming. And over a foot is possible to even probable in some areas, particularly across the northern Black Hills and foothills, and then extending into the plains of southwestern and northwestern South Dakota. And again, you see relatively low probabilities of higher snowfall amounts over portions of Campbell and Weston counties, and even extending into central and southern Black Hills, possibly as far north and east as Rapid City, due to the downslope winds that we're anticipating in those areas. So this is going to be a long duration, strong wind event as well. And we'll see winds transition from southeast and northeast to out of the northwest Monday into Monday night, becoming sustained at 25 to 35 miles per hour with gusts over 50 or even 55 miles per hour in some areas. This map here shows the potential for wind gusts over 55 miles per hour Monday into Monday night. And I just want to show how that changes over the next couple of days after that. So this is the potential for wind gusts over 55 miles per hour Tuesday and Tuesday night. You see an expansion of those higher probabilities and just an increase in overall strength and magnitude of winds there. Going into Wednesday, winds are expected to gradually wind down from west to east by Thursday, but still on Wednesday, it looks like we're going to be dealing with very strong northwesterly winds throughout the day and even into the evening. So blowing snow could remain a concern into late next week. So just looking at a timeline for a few different areas across our region, just in general, precipitation is likely going to begin Monday afternoon with a wintry mix, including freezing rain, possible across central and especially south central South Dakota late Monday. That precipitation will gradually transition to all snow across most of the area Monday night or Tuesday morning. However, we're going to likely see freezing rain continuing over south central South Dakota into mid or potentially late Tuesday. So there's that opportunity for the ice accumulations. The significant travel impacts begin Tuesday. We're going to see that increase in winds, and the snow is going to become more intense, more widespread during that period. And really elevated to significant impacts may continue in some areas into Thursday, particularly due to blowing snow continuing during that period of time. Now, in terms of our forecast confidence, pretty high confidence in the timing of this. It looks like, again, onset will be kind of mid to late in the day on Monday into Monday night, continuing Tuesday and Wednesday, and that'll be the time period of the most significant impacts will be that Tuesday to Wednesday time frame. Location, fairly medium to high confidence when it comes to the location. We have a pretty good idea of where the most significant impacts are going to be, looking at the northern hills and foothills, and then onto the western South Dakota plains in terms of snow, then the ice over south central South Dakota. Snowfall amounts, again, maybe medium confidence. There could be some subtle shifts in the track that could affect the overall snowfall amounts. And with it being still several days out in advance, there's potential for a little bit of wiggling around in terms of the snowfall amounts. But overall, we're fairly confident that a big chunk of the area will see at least several inches of snow, potentially multiple feet of snow in some location. And then in terms of precipitation type and the winds, especially that long duration of winds, we have fairly high confidence that most areas will see primarily snow, aside from south central South Dakota, where you can see that freezing rain for the first day or so. Now, we often get questions about the comparison between a given storm and the October 2013 blizzard, also known as Atlas. So we wanted to briefly touch on the similarities and differences between this storm and what we saw back in 2013. There are certainly some similarities. So we do expect the very strong winds that we saw in 2013 and significant snowfall in some spots. And the blowing and the drifting of snow is likely going to make travel difficult to essentially impossible in some areas. But there are also a lot of differences. First being the time of year. So Atlas occurred in early October. There were still a lot of leaves on the trees in terms of the vegetation. So we saw a lot of issues with branches falling off the trees, with power outages. It's not to say that we won't see power outages with this storm, but still, it's not going to be potentially as widespread or as significant as we saw back there in 2013. We also saw quite a bit of rain in the 2013 storm before things transitioned over to snow. So all of that rain, that liquid, froze over time and exacerbated the travel issues that we were already having. In that storm, the snow, was fairly localized right here in the northern hills and into the central hills, into the Rapid City area. Yeah, we're going to see a fairly widespread area of snowfall of 6 to 12, maybe higher amounts in this storm next week. Temperatures were also a big difference. So in 2013, temperatures were pretty close to freezing, and the temperatures warmed up thereafter. So we had fairly rapid melting of the snow. And the warm temperatures also led to lower snowfall ratios, meaning that it was a heavy, wet snow, whereas in this case, it's going to be more of a dry snow, more easily blown around. So that's what's going to lead to significant travel issues. Even after the snow stops falling, we'll still have that snow blowing off the roadways after they've been cleared and potentially treated. So we might see those travel impacts lingering for a couple extra days after the snowfall. So just in summary, I'm just highlighting the key points here again. We do expect that large winter storm to impact the region beginning on Monday. We'll have multiple days of heavy snow and those accompanying strong to northwest winds. So that's going to lead to difficult to near impossible travel conditions by late Monday, early Tuesday, and continuing for a couple of days thereafter. And again, although the highest potential for the heavy snow will be from kind of the western South Dakota plains into the northern hills and northern foothills, there are some areas that could see relatively lower amounts that are affected by downslope winds. They'll be in the central and southern Black Hills, potentially into portions of northeastern Wyoming, and potentially as far east and north as the Rapid City area as well. Rapid City will kind of be right on the line. We could see not a whole lot of snow here, whereas going up into the Somerset Piedmont area, we could end up seeing several inches to a foot of snow. So it's going to be a fairly tight gradient in the I-90 corridor. So that's all we have. If you have any questions, you could throw those into the chat now or raise your hand and we'll address you then. And I'm going to stop the recording before we get into the Q&A in case you have any specific questions you'd like to ask for your jurisdiction.